Welcome back to the garage. It's time for part 2 of the Ross steering box rebuild. Let's get going. So after a good night's sleep, I had what millennials and Gen Z refer to as a big brain moment. That mini vise has been sitting over here on the other workbench and I haven't been able to use it much because of the ultrasonic cleaner, drill press, belt sander, and those shelves. But it's a swivel vise and it just clamps on. So now I've moved it right here. This makes a heck of a lot more sense, and I'll be able to get a lot more use out of it, especially now that I'm going to go through and try to chase all these threads, clean them up, and I'm going to have to clean up the threads on these original bolts because I have to. I mean, I have the tools, why not? So I'm going to get into that just for the cleanup, do a second coat of paint because some brake clean might have accidentally taken some off. And we'll continue on with the rebuild. The other reason this is important, at least in my case here, is that when I put this in the blasting cabinet, the masking failed and I got a bunch of grit in these holes. And I would really like to get that grit out. Yep. With all these holes cleaned up, we're gonna go ahead and put the tube back through it with our Permatex as a seal. Here is our wire tube. Then we followed it up with the outside. Next up is the sector shaft seal. We'll get this hammered in, hopefully evenly. That should be it. So I've made the choice to leave the original bushings in there because once cleaned up, there's not a dang thing wrong with them. There might be one scratch and that's it. They're clean, they're smooth. Why go to the effort? So those will stay. All right, next up, let's get the entire shaft assembly back through here. And it's still full of grease after all this cleaning. There we go. Next up will be the cover and the shims. I'm using the exact same shims because it's all the same parts. Nothing has changed. They will still be zero end play. This might be an unnecessary step, but I am coating the shims with some of that copper spray gasket sealer. It won't add any thickness to it, and it'll just help prevent any possible leaks through the shims.
Thread sealer.
Good point. These need thread sealer. Next up, let's install the sector shaft. Put a little bit of oil on there just to get it through. Hopefully those splines jump. There we go. There's the sector shaft. Next up comes that Permatex Aviation Forma gasket on the paper gasket for this. Now that that's sat for a minute and it's good and tacky, let's get it on and bolt it up. And remember that the top two just go straight through to metal, but the bottom two go into oil. So you need to use thread sealer, and they also come with a copper crush washer. And it looks like there is no torque spec for these, so we'll go for German spec, Guten tight. When you have a conspicuous pile of lock washers, make sure you actually put the lock washers on with the bolts. Pro tip. While we're making things right, that grease zerk is going away. Here's a 1/8 NPT plug, proper thing for that oil fill port. So here's one of those pointless little side projects that has a little bit of symmetry to it. I'll put a picture up here, but when I first got the Jeep, it had one of these old school 70s probably vintage steering wheel covers. And I don't know, it just kind of felt right to put one back on, you know? So I'll get this all tied up and stuff, and we'll get ready to put it on the Jeep. There we go. It gives it kind of an old school feel, and it looks kind of like it did when it first came to the garage. Except the old one was, I think, vinyl, not leather, or it had been weathered outside for 30 years for so long that it felt like vinyl and not soft at all. This will work nicely. Let's get this outer tube back on. Trying and failing and not scraping it against every bit of grease on the inside of this tube. Alright, that'll go approximately right there. Oof, I have miscalculated. Totally and completely unnecessary. But I do it anyways. I'm pretty sure that no one but me will ever see this. And some last few details. I think this is just for the spring to sit on. The spring, of course, steering wheel, and then oh man, me and the details. I just realized how awful this nut looks. Well, this is embarrassing. I wire wheeled something and it actually looks worse. It was kind of blackened steel. Then it turned to complete rust, like someone had blued over rust. And now it just looks like crap. So I guess I'm gonna blue it. And there we have it. A rebuilt steering box, freshened up with new paint, brass plug instead of a Zerk, totally unnecessary lettering, the new steering wheel that was already there, and a nice classic style steering wheel grip. And as soon as this oil sits on this nut overnight and gets it nice and blue and oiled up. The button will be ready to go back on, and that'll be ready to install. So there you have it. A nice, clean, rebuilt steering box. Hopefully good to go for the next 70 years. I didn't have to mess with it to begin with, but here we are. So thanks for watching. If you like what I do, if you like my unnecessarily detailed paint jobs, if you found it entertaining or informative, do me a favor and leave me a like or a comment below. It really does help the channel grow. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys on the next one.